Welcome to Late Start Piano. My name is Josh. Today I'm going to be giving you a extremely simple improvisation tool or exercise that you can use even if this is maybe your first day on the piano or you're very early on in your piano journey. This has to do with improvisation. And a lot of people are afraid of improvising because they feel like they're going to hit the wrong notes, or they feel like they don't know what to play, or they feel like they're going to sound bad, which they are correct. Those are fears that they may have, and you probably will hit wrong notes. Not probably, but you will hit wrong notes and you will sound bad. But that's part of the game. That's part of what you have to do if you want to get better at improvising. What I'm going to show you today is really a foolproof way for you to sound decent. You might not sound like a professional improviser, but it's going to at least appear like you know what you're doing, that you've maybe played piano for longer than you have actually played. Okay, so it's going to be very simple. The only prerequisites you really have to know for this is your C major scale. If you don't know your C major scale, I'm about to teach you right now. It's all the white notes. So we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. That's it. We're not going to be using any black notes for this, white notes only. Any white note in the right hand is fair game. So you can play literally any white note you want. It doesn't matter. It's all going to sound pretty good. The left hand is where we're going to have a few different options depending on maybe what sound you're going for and maybe depending on what level you are. So the chord progression we're going to use is a 1, 3, 6, 4, 1. Okay, so we're going to be playing a C major, a E minor, a minor, and F major. And those are going to be the 4 chords that we use. Now, we're not going to just play it in triads. Although you certainly could get away with that, we're going to open it up a little bit so we're not just having all these 3 notes so close together. We're going to actually space it out a little bit to give you a little bit more of a wider sound and a little bit better of voicing, okay? So you certainly can do triads just like I did. You can have your metronome going. You know, if you want to start off really, really slow, you can put on 70 beats and you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, change 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You can do something like that. Again, that was 70 beats per minute, just playing quarter notes in the right hand. And we're only switching on every measure, right? On beat 1, you're just holding down the chords. So you can do triads. You can also just do single notes. So maybe that's a little bit too tough. And even with the triads, and you can just do 1 note at a time. So we can do something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So even that's still improvising because you're not planning out the notes. The left hand is planned, sure. The left hand is planned, but that's just your chord progression, right? So we're still in a chord progression. If you're familiar with jazz at all, we might have this specific chord progression, and the right hand is doing all the improvising. So we're not planning any of the notes. Like we said, we can play any of the white notes, which gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we repeat, right? So we have 7 different note options that we can choose from, no matter what chord we're playing in the left hand. And that's what makes this improvising and what makes it so easy for beginners. Again, as long as you're keeping that same chord progression in the left hand and you're keeping the timing right, you're improvising. You're literally creating music in the flow, even if it's not, really good sounding or professional sounding, you're still improvising. Improvising is something that you can do at any level. Again, I just proved it to you. Even if you can't use the left hand at all, you can just play literally random white notes. That's still improvising. Okay, so you can break this down as low and make it as easy as you need to be. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit off topic. So let's say you can do single notes, you can do triads. What else can you do to make this sound a little bit better? Well, you can do octaves. So we can do octaves in the left hand, same thing in the right hand, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. something like that maybe. And if you noticed, I went a little bit lower. Instead of going up to this E minor up here, I went down to this one, I think. Or actually, maybe this one. Yeah. So we have an even lower of a bass note, which gives it more bass, and that's what gives it more of a fuller sounding sound, because we're using more of the piano. We're using more real estate, right? Even just this. Let's say we play a C major chord, and we're just doing octaves like we just did. Compare this sound to, let's say, the triad, or even one note. Hopefully this sounds richer to you because we have more bass. We actually have bass in this. This one we don't really have bass. This one gives us bass. So when we're playing these chords, we want to think about how we're voicing, where we're playing these chords, because if you're playing solo piano and you're improvising on your own, where you play the notes is just as important as what specific notes you're playing. So a lot of people get tied up in, what notes do I play, what scale do I use, this kind of thing. But you want to also be thinking about where you're playing these chords, where you're playing these notes, because they're going to sound different depending on what range of the piano that you're playing in, right? So that's another example. Another thing we can do maybe is we can do root, fifth, root. So now we have the octave, but we're also just adding in that fifth, right? So this would be this, boom, something like that. So we can try that now with the metronome. And as you can see, I just went back to the E minor instead of the F major. So mistakes will happen, but I think you get the point. So that's another option. Another option you can do is you can add in the diatonic seventh, right? So for in C major, we can play C, G, and B. That's the C major 7. And now we're adding even more color, because not only are we playing the 3 basic notes of the chord, so far we've only been playing 3 notes really, right? Unless we played a random note in the right hand that happened to line up. But in the left hand, we played 1 note, we've played the octave, and now we played the 5th. But you can also add in the 7th. So now we have the root, the 5th, and the 7th. And especially if we time this when we play it, so that downbeat, we play the 3rd in the right hand. Now we have a full C major 7 chord. Root, 5th, 7th, and the 3rd. And of course, the E minor, we do the same thing. Again, on that downbeat, we can try to aim for the 3rd here. This might be a little bit too advanced, again, if this is your first day, but if it's not, maybe this is helpful for you. Then we had the A minor. Again, here's that 3rd, root, 5th, 7th. And then we had the F major. Same thing, root, 5th, 7th, 3rd. So what I'm going to try to do now is I'm going to try to land it so the first beat of those chords, I'm playing the 3rd of the chord in the right hand, and you're going to see how it sounds. It's going to sound much more fuller and richer than what we've been playing up to this point, okay? So here we go. 1. Something like that. And now I'm adding in a little bit of 8th notes as well, a little bit of rhythm, so I'm not just playing, quarter notes in the right hand, but you certainly can still play quarter notes if you want. So that's kind of how it sounds coming in on beat 1. If we were to play maybe not the 3rd in the right hand, that might not sound as good, so we can try that. So we can play, let's say it like this. See, when you play that 4th, you got to be careful of the 4th because you get this tritone. So you want to be careful of that. So once you start adding in the 7th degree, you have to be a little bit more cognizant, a little bit more aware of what notes you're playing in the right hand, because you can kind of get these sounds, which maybe is not what you're going for. If you don't know how to quickly resolve that, if you're doing something like that, quickly, that might be fine. But if you're just holding it there, it might not sound as good as you want it to. So that's just kind of a note. When you're playing the 7th in the left hand, you have to be more aware of the right hand. So generally, I would say, especially on the downbeats, maybe if you're playing this, you can certainly get away with that with playing the F. If it's on beat 3, so we could do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, right? And if you don't play this on the downbeat, it doesn't sound as bad. But if you are playing it on the downbeat, you have to be careful of that sound, right? Same thing, we had the E minor. We think about the 4th of E minor. Should be 1, 2, 3, 4. This is fine, this tense, because we had that perfect 4th. Right, when we had the C major, we had the augmented 4th. That would be the perfect 4th. But this is more theory, kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself here. So again, if you're brand new to improvising, you just want to have fun with it, and maybe this is too much for you, just leave out the 7th. If you feel comfortable adding in the 7th, it definitely adds some nice color, versus just, doing something like this. Right, something like that. But hopefully this video helps. This is all about improvising again. Easy way to do it. Anybody can get started with this as long as you know your scales. Even if you don't know your scales, I just taught you C major. If you do know more than one scale, of course, you can take this progression at 1, 3, 6, 4 into different keys. Do the same thing. Just play the major scale in the right hand. Think about what you're playing in the left hand, what's going to sound good in the right hand, and just have fun, of course. Have fun with it. That's the most important. If you like this video, if you're looking to improvise a little bit more, again, you can leave me a comment down below. We can talk. Again, my name is Josh with Late Start Piano, and have a great day.